Hello guys, welcome to another video. Let's learn more about the mysterious. Today is Jason the Toymaker. So let me move you. Before reading knowledge, Jason Meyer, famously also known as Jason the Toymaker, is a manipulative, cursed being who dabblings in his possession for toy making and turning his victims into wax dolls. He appears in the Creepypasta story of the same name, Jason the Toymaker, as well as his origin story. On the surface, Jason presents himself as sweet, educated, kind, and polite. This gentle and courteous demeanor serves as a facade, skillfully designed to capture and hold his target's attention. Hi, Reckoning. Beneath this exterior lies a manipulative, sneaky, ruthless, and selfish-natured human being, not human being. Jason is a narcissist, obsessively fascinated on achieving perfection in himself and his creations. His deep need for validation drives his manipulative tendencies as he relentlessly seeks recognition and approval. He despises change, exhibits possessive behavior, and craves total control over those he targets. I'm so confused. As a sociopath, Jason's ultimate goal is to strip individuals of their autonomy, convincing them that he is the only person they can trust, the sole bearer of truth, and the ultimate authority on right and wrong. By doing so, he isolates his victims from anyone who might interfere with his plans. In extreme cases, those who attempt to intervene face devastating consequences. Appearance. Jason is a tall, humanoid figure standing at an imposing 6'3" feet. He has light skin, yellow eyes, and striking red hair down to his shoulders. His attire is unique and refined, featuring a Victorian-era beige tail vest adorned with intricate stitching on the left side, and darker shoulder pads fastened with gold buttons. One of these buttons secures two decorative chains draped across his shoulder. On the same side, he wears a brown arm garter equipped with small tools for toy making. His belt with numerous wind-up knobs sits slightly askew across his pants, and his look is completed with black boots featuring bold red soles. His face and neck are marked with striking black makeup or tattoos. Overall, Jason's features and presence are widely regarded as exceptionally attractive. When angered, his hair turns white and his skin dissolves into rotting fresh flesh with a hateful expression. Facts. Jason the Toymaker was created by Chrysanthel. He hates children. Jason has two toys he relies on. Scraps, garbage, broken toys, and old wax dolls end up inside the mouth of a huge cloth snake named Mr. Glutton. That's interesting. Licorice is a mechanical mouse Jason uses to spy on victims. It hides where it's hard to notice, and when the red in his eyes gets brighter and brighter, it means Jason is nearby. Jason placed his heart within a music box, a casing that contains a small cloth doll in his image and likeness. If the music box ever breaks or gets destroyed, Jason will die. He has his own dimension, where his isometric toy room exists. Within the room, there's a secret workshop where he makes his victims into dolls. The wax dolls he builds are based on how he views his victims, character and personality. He openly targets women to make wax dolls. He is asexual and aromantic. He isn't interested in romance. Sorry, something's like grabbing my throat right now. I don't know if it's like my posture or what, but I feel like something's choking me, and I can't breathe right, so that's fun. Always fun when your ghosts want to choke you.
Choke me like you hate
Okay.
me.
Excuse you. Anyway. Bro. Jason was born into an overly demanding household with two strict and unyielding parents. Their high expectations instilled in him an obsessive drive for perfection and desperate need to be recognized for his accomplishments. Ironically, his parents' ban on toys may have sparkled his lifelong possession and eventual career in toy making. As a child, Jason was a model student, someone who was obedient, disciplined, and seemingly flawless. One day at school, his teacher encouraged him to befriend a girl named Amelia. With his relationship with his parents lacking affection, Jason quickly became fixated on Amelia, craving the attention and emotional connection he never received at home. Over time, his desperation led him to mentally manipulating Amelia and physically harming others to secure her attention. For his two-faced nature, he successfully forged a tight-knit bond with her. As an adult, Jason channeled his perfectionism into his craft, becoming a highly successful toy maker. He and Amelia remained close friends until she uncovered one of his manipulative schemes from their high school years, which led her to transfer to another academy. Distraught and unable to go, Jason sought her out, bringing two handcrafted gifts, a music box and a doll modeled after himself. However, Amelia's mother, suspicious of Jason since his childhood, firmly demanded he stay away from her daughter. Several weeks later, Amelia unexpectedly visited Jason, only to hear he had murdered a young girl and dismembered her body. Horrified, Amelia begged him to turn himself in, but this led to a violent confrontation. As Amelia became injured and exhausted, Jason revealed his true intentions and openly dismissed his friend. The doll, originally crafted as a gift for her, had become a symbol of his twisted heart. He expressed his desire to replace Amelia with someone who could meet his impossible expectations, the chosen one, who was smarter than her and could challenge him. At the final moment, Jason disappeared through a mysterious blue door, leaving Amelia alive, but deeply scarred by the actions of her former friend. And that's how that starts. And now we get into the really interesting part. So, we have the creepypasta, and then the origins. So, let's go into the creepypasta, why don't we? I need to adjust this. Alright. I don't have many memories left from my past. The faces of my real parents were like faded masks. My character's breaking. There we go. The faces of my real parents were like faded masks in my mind. I only had some remains of my childhood, faceless names, and total darkness. At the age of 9, something had happened to my family. The trauma was so deep that it made me forget most of my life. I only had the shred of memory related to my best friend. He was the only one I had in my whole life. It was an image stuck in my mind, going together with laughter in the background and the melody of a music box. Among the black holes of my amnesia, I caught a glimpse of his honey-colored eyes and his dark mahogany hair. I remember his friendly smile, but nothing else. All the rest disappeared in the dark. So did he. My memory started at the orphanage where I ended up, and it was like I was born there at any moment. Some awesome parents, Madalena and Stephen, who gave me back the warm feeling of having a family, adopted me, which I had... a feeling which I had forgotten. They raised me in their house until I got to the age of 15. My amnesia led me to go into examinations and psychological checkups, which year after year was slowly starting to fail. It looked like I wouldn't be able to get my memory back. This fact left me distorted. On one hand, I wanted to know what happened, but on the other, an odd feeling of anxiety suggested I not wish for it. Obviously, there was an unpleasant consequence to my trauma. It was like some paranoia of being persecuted by something. The specialist told my parents it must have been linked to a particular memory, which was constantly stimulated. Neither the cause nor what it was exactly was clear, but despite my efforts, I couldn't focus on it. I felt like I was being observed, not by people, but by the stuffed toys in my room. It was stupid, I know. At the beginning, they were simply toys, but time and time again, their big round eyes seemed to stare at me. Since I was little, I thought the stuffed toys in my room were alive. and sometimes I tried to prove it. I spied out of my room with the door left ajar. Then I turned back. Suddenly, I never took my eyes off of them. Not until I felt a bit of burning sensation from not blinking my eyes. That memory was one of the few memories from my childhood that still made me smile, but things have changed. Time after time, the stuffed toys were the ones staring at me. It almost looked like, hi. It almost looked like they wanted to test me, and I couldn't bear it anymore. The thought stuck in my mind. At times it seemed to me that they moved, turning their little faces towards me. At other times, they made the noises in my room. This couldn't be true, obviously. Why did this thought persecute me? Why did I hate those stuffed toys? In spite of everything, why didn't I get rid of them? I could have presented them to other children or thrown them into rubbish. One day I tried, really, I did, but when I took one of them in my arms, a strong sense of anxiety and terror stopped me. I always ended up putting them back to their places on furniture or on my bed, on shelves. Then I had to take tranquilizers. There was only one toy I took along with me during the night. Despite my age, I couldn't separate from him, and I felt a familiar affection from him that started long before my amnesia. I found him in my wardrobe at the orphanage, and from there on out, we became inseparable. It was a sweet bunny with long ears as long as him. On one side it was red, and on the other was residential caramel color. He wore a black waistcoat with 2 long sleeves that draped down to the point of his feet, and dashed an elegant collar that donned pointed tips at every edge of the fabric. His little left beaded eye was covered with a stylish frilly eye patch, and the center donned a black button. It was funny, but it looked like the only stuffed animal that was harmless. He slept by my side ever since I was little, just like that night, after I sneak underneath my sheets, falling asleep almost instantly among the creaking old walls. I was standing still in the darkness, unable to move, and I couldn't understand how I ended up there. Surrounded only by the distilled silence, something slimy grabbed my wrist, and it held me so tightly that an instant pain shot right through me. A set of white nails slowly penetrated my flesh. I watched them cutting through my skin, making me bleed. I screamed and cried, but a laugh bellowed out, covering my desperate pleas. "She belongs to me," a voice whispered to me. Within that dark abyss, 2 green sparkling eyes appeared before me. They were inches from my face. "You are only a hindrance to me." He laughed, amused by my pain, while he pierced needles under my nails and into my flesh. He ruined my body with rusty tools. On the contrary, he said he was going to fix me all up. I noticed an open door, the only thing I could distinguish from the darkness. My eyes blurred by the pain. I saw a glimpse of people standing still gazing down at me. The image of the door got closer, in order to show me their vacant expression, despite the grimaces plastered on their faces. I saw that they were not real people. They were dolls, and in some way, I felt a strong sense of nausea overcome me by just for staring at them. What? Overcome me just by staring at them. There was something about them that made me weak to my stomach, and maybe it was their extraordinary and macabre resemblance to real people. "She belongs to me." With that I woke up, my eyes wide, and the beating of my heart was so loud that I could feel them pounding inside my throat. I couldn't breathe, so I stood up and then sat back down. I rubbed my eyes, and I realized that I was sweating. The bunny fell, landing upside down. I leaned down to him, and I put him back on the bed. My breathing returned to its normal breathing pace, and the image of those needles, dirty blood, and those terrifying dolls remained embedded in my mind. I never had such a nightmare like that before. The feeling was so terribly real. I still feel those claws making a hole in my flesh, but I was relieved that I woke up. The door squeaked. It was my mother coming in my room. As soon as she saw my exhausted face, her smile on her face faded away. "Honey, are you okay?" "Yes, I only had a nightmare. Now everything is all right." "Well, okay. Daisy came to visit you. I told her to wait for you in the living room." With that, I got out of bed. I was dressed poorly, and I didn't want my best friend to see me that way. While my mother closed the door, I ran over to my wardrobe and took out an ordinary dress. In the space of a few minutes, I came out of my room neat and ready. In my haste, I was out of breath. "Finally!" exclaimed Daisy, smiling. I met Daisy at middle school, and ever since then we were inseparable. She was a kind and generous person. She was always welcome in her family. My parents appreciated her good manners, but what I loved about her specifically was that She never asked me anything about my past. I was able to tell her about my amnesia in complete confidence. The day was nice and sunny, so we laid in the garden under an old willow tree. We talked while sheltering from the sun and in the shade of the tree. I bought some colored pencils and blank sheets of paper. We both started drawing. Daisy felt tired immediately. She started picking daisies, put them in her blonde braid while she gossiped about Louisa, a girl who lived for being the center of people's attention. While my friend was talking, I listened to her and kept on drawing, without taking my eyes off the sheet of paper. "Who's that?" she asked me suddenly, noticing the drawing. As if I fell asleep in that exact moment. I battered my eyelids in front of the sheet of paper, and I felt rather confused about seeing a drawing repeated several times on the same character. I don't know. I did not have the slightest idea of who he was. He had a beautiful, happy smile and 2 yellow eyes that were covered a bit by his fringe. He wore old clothing, and in his hands he was holding a little blue case resembling a music box. Maybe I saw him in an illustration book. "Okay, let's have some ice cream," said Daisy, changing the subject of our conversation, seemingly not interested. Ants were coming under my skirt. On that same night, I had another nightmare, and this was worse than the first one I had before. I dreamt about that dark figure again, who brutally tortured me and kept saying the phrase all over again. "She's mine." I woke up at 2 a.m., breathing rapidly. I curled up, feeling the wall behind my back. I put my hands over my face, and I breathed in deeply. "It was just a dream, just a dream," I whispered. Then I looked over at the bunny next to me, which was looking back at me with a black eye and an irritated glance. I threw it on the floor. Since the moment I started sleeping with that thing, my dreams turned into meaningless nightmares. I turned around to rest my legs, and in that moment I touched something with my foot. I elevated my gaze, and I noticed a doll sitting on my bed. At first I was frozen in place. All I could do was stare at her. I didn't understand how she appeared there. My mind started thinking back to my parents, who giving me a present perhaps. I didn't have a thing for dolls, and to tell the truth, her presence in my room bothered me. It was a peculiar doll made of wax with unusual characteristics. She had a headdress of flowers flowing through her hair, and only a few locks caressed her cheeks. She wore an embroidered white lace dress with a black ribbon tied around her waist. Her arms were unordinarily long. She had long, tapering fingers that were not even normal. What caught the most attention was a rose put at the center of her mouth, as if it was supposed to silence her. I looked at her closer, and I scanned her under the moonlight. I touched her face and realized there was something wrong. I kneeled down and I tried to get an even closer look at her. I then heard something, a sort of subdued sound. Jesus Christ. Subdued sound. Like a wheeze. It was coming from the same doll. Screaming, I let her fall down on the floor and stood up in horror, trembling violently, pushing myself back to the wall, screaming for my parents. Suddenly everything turned surreal. The wall next to the door enlarged, like there was a bubble between the paint and the cement. Slowly some cracks appeared as they increased in number. The paint fell into pieces, landing on the floor as it revealed a blue door. I hadn't the slightest idea of what was happening. These things exist only in books or in our imagination, but in my astonishment, I felt something was going to come out of that door. From the door I see the same black hands that I witnessed in my nightmares. "Aren't you happy about Daisy coming to visit you? Are you?" said the monster, standing on the threshold of the door. I didn't like her either, you know. She screamed a lot. Daisy? What did she have to do about it? I looked around confused, looking for the presence of my friend that obviously wasn't there anymore. At the end, my eyes watched over the doll. That blonde hair and face made of wax looked strangely familiar. I held my breath. A nightmare. It must have been another nightmare. I rushed over to the doll, and I turned her face on my trembling hands. I put my ear to her chest and heard another sound along with that horrible wheeze, the pounding of a heart. "Daisy! Daisy!" I cried desperately. It had to be a nightmare. Something like this could not have been happening. I realized my parents were in the next room, according to the sounds I heard. They must have heard me screaming, but the monster blocked the entrance. He pulled my door shut, blocking it in the same setting. It deformed the wood. My parents started punching on the other side, but I didn't know what to do. It did not look like a dream. It was perfectly clear. It was realer than those nightmares of darkness and torture. My heart was beating so fast that I started to feel pain from it. I felt the sweat on my forehead, and the doll trembling in my hands, which I couldn't keep still. The monster stood at the entrance, not moving from there. In the half-light, I could see his evil smirk, as if he was waiting for my reaction. I unbuttoned Daisy's dress, who looked imprisoned under the tons of wax, and I started to dig, trying to set her free. I dug and I dug and I dug, while her moans became more intense, until I felt something wet under my nails. I looked at my hands, covered with blood. Her skin must have been mixed with the wax, and the digging I did was not helping her at all. That thing that supposedly to be Daisy was suffering. Her wheezes were blood-curdling, but her expression was still that of an impassive doll. I trembled with horror. I had to repress a reach, and suddenly I felt my arm being grabbed. "My splendid Maggie, you've ruined your doll," exclaimed the monster, with his whitish eyes sparkled with a pale green light. "You even threw Mr. Bunny on the floor, but I forgive you. You must return to the place where you belong, by my side." What is what? Oh, so I'm reading, it's off of the Creepypasta fandom. Oh, I'm recording a video. Say hello to YouTube. But two left is I have 2 more creepypastas to read and record. Also, thank you for the likes. But yeah, that's what it is. "Who the heck are you?" I shook like a mad, trying to set myself free while my parents were trying to break down the door. The expression of that creature was filled with astonishment. "I am Jason the Toymaker," he exclaimed. "Your faithful friend, the only one you could trust." At hearing that name, something moved in my memories, like an electric shock had run through my body. My father succeeded breaking down the door and turned on the light. When I finally saw him, his face primed a bomb that exploded, setting free my memories that were buried deep in the corners of my mind all those years. I remember the day that we met for the first time, the toys that seemed to bloom from his hands. I remembered his friendly smile that gradually turned into a sharp and sadistic smirk. That day he showed me with exasperation. He expected me to give him more attention because in his arrogance he believed he deserved everything from me. When he grew tired of me, then he showed me who he really was. He revealed he eliminated all the people that I surrounded in my life. He kidnapped my friends for turning them into his toy dolls, and I was bluntly stupid to always admire them. Rushing home was useless because the blue door reappeared at the center of the living room. He massacred my parents. He took his revenge by taking them away from me, and almost got me too. I managed to escape from his clutch, running as much as I could, away from him. As far as I ran, the smell of blood... Apparently I'm hungry. The smell of blood and that of decomposed flesh lingered in the air. It was you. I possessed by anger, and I started hitting him. "You killed them! You!" I kept hitting him, but Jason was smiling, as if it was tickling him. He didn't have any remorse for ruining my life. He was possessed. He was a possessive beast who concealed himself from my childish eyes behind an angel face. He was able to give me everything at the same time, to terminate everything around me. He was fiendish. Of course it was me, my splendid creature. Mr. Bunny showed it to you. He smiled with self-evident truth. "I made for you many toys. I can't wait to introduce you, Miranda, but you can call her Mandy if you like." Suddenly something hit his head, and it shattered into pieces. My father had a wooden club. He aimed a blow at the monster's head, but the one that broke was the wood. Jason's smile turned into an infuriated scowl, and his grip increased on my wrist. He turned around, and my father saw Jason's face. He opened his eyes wide, and my mother covered her mouth to conceal her screams. My father didn't waste time trying again to set me free. The club broke in half with one blow to the Maker's face, allowed him to let go of me. Together with my parents, I ran out of the room. We quickly rushed to the entrance. My father opened the door, but instead of the garden path in front of us, there was Jason's workshop. "Maggie, I'll give you one last chance," Jason said calmly, walking down the stairs. "After which I'll dye the walls with the blood of all the people who surrounded you. To the kitchen, quick." Run over to the kitchen, hearing the monster's laugh following us, and once we're in, we could see through the windows, the Toymaker's little factory. Now I was desperately sure it wasn't a nightmare. The terror overwhelmed me, and Daisy's blood on my fingers was realer than anything else I've ever felt. I turned around. "Where's Dad?" My mother grabbed a knife and got closer to me, holding me tightly in her arms. I just realized that my rain stopped. There's no way that I listened to that for 10 hours. I think that my Alexa just turned off. Anyway. My mother grabbed a knife and got closer to me, holding me tightly in her arms. Stephen, with her trembling voice, she called him, but we sighed with relief when we saw him coming in the kitchen. Hurry up before... My mother's voice blocked, just like me. She stared at Dad's pale face. He walked slowly, with a fixed look at the areas as his eyes were wide open. Suddenly he fell on the floor, and behind him appeared Jason's frozen smile. The Toymaker looked at me with crazed eyes. Dad's battery decreased. It should be recharged. Jason revealed a giant mechanical key and drove it into my father's back. Already stained with blood, he turned it with force and twisting my father's backbone. At the second turn I shouted, covering my ears to block out the sound of the breaking bones, but I couldn't help taking my eyes off my father's body, contouring itself like a snake. Go away, be gone, leave my child alone. My mother held me tight at her chest, and despite the terror and tears she shed, her face resembled one of those lionesses shielding her cub. Silence, woman, it is not you who I want to talk to, growled the furious Toymaker. In the end, he pointed his white claw at me. Come with me, my sweet friend. We will have fun together. We will be back laughing like we did then. No, you're just an insane psychopath. I don't know what kind of monster you are. I really don't have any idea how you could exist in this world. But one thing is for sure, you must disappear from my life, forever. At the sound of my refusal, Jason's face clouded over, and his eyes sparkled with fury. He started to rave, to contort himself, and jerking his head as if he went on the blink because of me. I don't understand, he growled quietly. I don't understand. Grinding his teeth, his face became more terrifying. I was the only one staying by your side when your parents preferred to work than to stay with you. I was a loyal friend while those around you only looked for you when they needed it. He came closer. I gave you all my attention, giving you loads of toys, and I never made you lack of nothing. I always aimed for your own good, and that's why I destroyed everything hurting you. His screams were so loud that resounded over the walls, while my body shook in horror at every word. I got rid of all the people that saddening you because I wanted you happy by my side. And after I looked for you for so long, you even forgot me? I was a true friend, but you turned your back on me. Suddenly his furious face relaxed, but not his previous insane smile. After doing everything for you, there isn't another explanation. There's really something wrong with you. He installed me with an accusatory look. You were a very bad little girl, so I have to fix you up. What? I trembled with my voice. You heard me. You little ungrateful. I will fix you up so you'll be good. You'll become a very beautiful toy doll. My mother, who was paralyzed by Jason's tirade, suddenly awoke and pointed a knife at him. If you even dare to graze Maggie, I swear I'll kill you. Jason looked at my mother with a challenging gaze, and slowly came closer. The knife was trembling in my mother's hand, while the Toymaker gave an inexpressive guise. She couldn't stand the tension. She pushed me behind her, and hurled herself on him. I lost it. Oh my god, help. Hurled herself on him. My mother stabbed him in the heart, and the monster opened his eyes wide. He made a contouring of pain, corrugating. My poor voice. Corrugating his dark eyebrows, and my mother smiled triumphantly. Just kidding. In that moment, a smirk reappeared on Jason's face. He opened his arms with nonchalance, without even taking out the knife from his chest. My mother was shocked and stood there for a few seconds, but she was possessed by exasperation and started stabbing him several times, trying desperately to make him react somehow. The disgusting sound of the flesh pierced by the knife could be heard clearly while the shirt was ripping out. Jason kept his balance perfect. That's enough for now, he commented, bored, and straight after he hit my mother on her face, making her fall violently to the floor. I'll be in trouble if you scratched it. I was quickly next to my mom, helping her get on her knees. The side of her face was already swollen. My eyes leaped on the Toymaker. Huh? What? What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know? Like, what is it doing? I'll finish reading this and then I'll call you. How about that? Okay, hang on. Oh, let me move again because my legs are starting to hurt the way I was sitting. I'm just gonna hold my iPad. I'm just gonna be like, here we go. Anyway. I was waiting for his immediate revenge, but I was petrified when I glimpsed what he was doing. He unbuttoned his shirt and drove his nails into his chest, close enough to the injuries he got from the knife. He sank his claws into his flesh, and he slowly started pulling on the opposite side. The wound appeared as a little rip in the center, which enlarged as the flesh shredded like paper. A thick black liquid dripped onto the floor. It was not blood. Even if it was, then it must have been something rotten. Something sparkled in his exposed rib cage. Probably you forget how much I care for my splendid music box, but luckily, everything is alright. He took his hands off his exposed chest and covered the hole with his shirt, hiding the music box that started to play from inside. He then came closer. I wanted to scream, I wanted to beg, but the horror I had witnessed left me completely paralyzed to do anything, which implied squeezing up with my mother. It only took a yank for the Toymaker to tear her out of my arm. He took her up without effort and pushed her back onto his chest, preventing her to wiggle out of him. He clenched his arm around her neck while the other arm blocked the hand that stabbed him. Now I'll show you what happens to whom tries to hinder me, Mom. He slowly bent her arm in the opposite direction. She cried from pain, trying to set herself free, but that monster was strong enough to bend her limb and make the bone come out. Dang. My mother sank her nails in his blackish flesh, which flaked apart, producing a nauseating smell. But she could not set herself free since the grip was wrapped tightly. Can't speak. Alright, I'll come with you, I shouted with all the voice I had in my body. Jason raised his stare and gave me a serious look. My mother was becoming paler due to the pain and the blood loss. She needed my help, but there's nothing I could do but handling myself to the Toymaker. You can take me with you, but leave my mother alone, I said with my trembling voice. After all, we are friends, right? I tried to make a convincing smile, despite I was trembling from head to toe and my eyes were filled with tears. Jason smirked. He was outright satisfied and pleased with his victory. Excellent choice, Maggie. At the moment, his arms took back their usual color. His lacerations cauterized in a few seconds, and he was back to his casual appearance. His face turned to his normal state, but I already knew what he concealed behind those amber-colored eyes. It seems Jason accepted my surrender, but before leaving my mother, he took out of his pocket a little red mouse. It was an unmistakable toy, one of those with a winding key. Hang on. Swap insides. Ah, itchy. It was an unmistakable toy, one of those with a winding key. He grabbed my mother from her jaw and pushed it into her mouth. What's wrong, Mom? Did the mouse take your tongue? He laughed amused, pushing her away from himself. In a nick of time, I saw my mother's eyes, wide-eyed and frightened. A light, then an explosion. She fell on her knees, her jaw, her nose, her eyes beat into a bloody pulp. She fell on the ground, a stain of blood enlarged from under her body. Blood and pieces of flesh spurted on me, but I was paralyzed in front of my mother's corpse while Jason didn't stop laughing. Why did you do that? The Toymaker's overwhelming shadow covered me and bent down to me. His face got closer, which was spoiled by a rift of his flesh wrought by the club. Because I'm not your friend anymore, you little. I'm now your creator. He then grasped me by my arm and dragged me towards him. Now, let me fix you up. That's that one. Oh, I don't want to read the origins. How long is this one? Oh no. My poor voice. I'm gonna make a part 2 to this one where I read the origin, because today is not a good day for my voice to do that. So we'll do that another day. So that's the end of that one. For now. To be continued.